You know, uh, it's so easy to get caught up, in the national news cycle,
Yeah.
glued to the headlines about, national politics and international crises and all that.
Right.
But have you ever stopped and thought about what's happening, like, right in your own backyard?
Absolutely.
Like, right outside your door?
Yeah.
So that's what today's deep dive is all about.
Okay.
We're diving into the surprisingly fascinating world of local government.
Okay.
Specifically, we're taking a look at the Springfield City Commission meeting from July 2nd, 2024.
All right.
And trust me, you won't believe the drama, the intrigue, and even the surprising humor that unfolds.
Well, you're right. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? I mean,
Yeah.
these local decisions are the ones that really impact our lives
Mm-hmm.
on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
From the streets we drive on to the schools our kids attend to the parks that we visit.
Exactly.
So yeah, this is the nitty-gritty.
So buckle up because we're about to get a crash course in how Springfield's government operates
Let's do it.
and what issues they're tackling.
Right.
And it starts, as you might expect, with the usual roll call and Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure.
But things get interesting pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a key point. I mean, those procedural steps are really important
Yeah.
to make sure that there's transparency and public access.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is the foundation of good governance.
Right.
It's how citizens can hold their officials accountable for
Exactly.
the decisions that they're making
Exactly.
with our tax dollars.
So first up on the agenda is zoning. They are considering changing a big chunk of land on Warder Street from residential to manufacturing.
Wow.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
how that could change the character of a neighborhood?
That is a classic debate.
Right.
Economic development versus community character,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that decision could bring new jobs
Right.
and revenue to the city.
Sure.
But it also raises all sorts of questions
Sure.
about, the impact on the existing residents'
Right.
property values,
Mm-hmm.
the environment.
Right. What about the people who live there now?
Exactly.
What about the businesses around there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a very complex issue.
It's a tricky balance to strike.
What is?
And if that wasn't enough, they're also talking about rezoning a spot on West Grand Avenue to become a park. Always good news when green space wins right.
Absolutely. Parks are absolutely vital for a healthy community.
Yeah.
I mean, they contribute to quality of life,
Mhm.
property values,
Yeah,
even our mental and physical well-being.
for sure.
So this is a decision that could have, ripple effects throughout the entire neighborhood,
Yeah,
attracting new residents,
right.
businesses who value those amenities.
For sure.
So that's a really interesting one to watch.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Okay, we're diving into the budget,
All right.
and it is full of surprises.
Oh, boy.
There's an agreement with a housing group
Okay.
called Neighborhood Housing Partnership of Greater Springfield, Inc.
Oh.
And they're also talking about donations for something called the Legacy 24 Initiative.
Interesting.
Intriguing, right?
Yeah. This shows the city's commitment to addressing affordable housing,
Okay.
which is a critical issue
Right.
in so many communities across the country.
Yeah.
And these donations, I think, really speak volumes about the community's support for this Legacy 24 initiative.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we're seeing more and more these days that public-private partnerships are becoming increasingly important
Yeah.
for funding important local projects.
Right, and getting things done.
Exactly.
And you're not going to believe this, but the city's facing a lime shortage.
A lime shortage?
Yeah,
Like for margaritas.
I know, right?
Okay.
Apparently, they need a year's worth of quicklime
Right?
for the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, interesting.
And the price has gone through the roof.
Wow, so it's like the guacamole crisis hit Springfield.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, that's not something you hear every day.
No.
But I mean, this seemingly, random detail
Yeah.
actually, I think, reveals a lot
Right.
about the challenges that cities face.
Sure.
We're talking about supply chain vulnerabilities,
Right.
inflation,
Mm-hmm.
the impact on essential services.
Right.
It goes to show that even something as basic as like treating wastewater
Yeah.
is connected to these larger economic forces.
Right. And global trends.
Exactly.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
Yeah.
But speaking of unexpected twists,
Okay.
the city is also selling off some properties.
Oh, okay.
One is going to a femme yogi paror.
Okay. I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's great to see that entrepreneurship is thriving
Yeah.
in Springfield.
This sale kind of suggests that there's a real demand for wellness services
Right.
in the community.
Yeah.
And it reflects how, properties use can really evolve over time.
For sure. And then there's this other property on Selma Road being sold to the Hen and Chicks Co.
Okay.
And no, it's not for raising chickens.
Oh,
All right.
that went through me for a loop, too.
Yeah.
So I had to do a little digging.
Right.
And it turns out they are in the business of home staging.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, it just goes to show how dynamic the market is.
Right.
Businesses are popping up to cater to these very specific needs.
Right, like home staging.
Exactly.
Wow, from yoga studios to home staging?
I don't even know.
Who knew that local government could be so trendy?
Right.
But on a more serious note, they're also discussing an opioid settlement with Kroger.
Yeah, this is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a huge issue nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really encouraging to see that Springfield is taking steps to address this opioid crisis
Right.
head on.
Yeah.
These funds are going to be absolutely crucial
For sure.
for supporting treatment and prevention efforts in the community.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the public comment section of the meeting,
Go.
where things got very real, very quickly.
Oh, wow.
People came forward to voice their concerns about homelessness,
Okay.
rising housing costs.
Right.
It was like a crash course in the challenges facing everyday people
Yeah.
in Springfield.
This is democracy in action.
Yeah,
This is where residents have that direct line to
exactly.
their elected officials.
So one resident, a Miss Carter Smith representing Sheltered Inc., spoke about the urgent need for more homeless housing in the community. And a Miss Doolittle pointed out that funding for some vital services is set to expire in September,
Oh, no.
right as the weather starts to turn cold.
Yeah, that's a critical concern
Yeah.
as winter approaches.
Right,
There's going to be increased demand for shelter
right.
and support services for vulnerable populations.
Absolutely. And there was some back and forth about funding for Sheltered Inc.
Okay.
Mr. Rue, the president of the city commission, clarified that they did not eliminate funding.
Okay.
Good, which is good to know.
Yeah.
Then we have a Mr. Calabrese speaking up in support of Sheltered Inc.
Okay.
And even suggesting that the city think about surcharges for out-of-town, non-owner-occupied unit.
That's an interesting angle
Yeah.
on the issue of affordable housing,
Right.
right? It reflects, I think, a concern that a lot of people have,
Mm-hmm.
that out-of-town investors buying up properties could be driving up costs
Right.
for people who actually live and work in Springfield.
Exactly.
These are really complex issues
Yeah.
with no easy solutions.
No easy answers.
Yeah.
Then a Mrs. Avery shared her concerns about the challenges faced by United Senior Services.
Okay.
You know, seniors struggling to access showers,
Right.
afford meals,
Mm-hmm.
even pay their utility bills.
Yeah. Her comments highlight another, often overlooked population.
Yeah.
Seniors
Yeah.
living on fixed incomes,
Yeah.
just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that wasn't enough to grapple with,
Right.
Mr. Kuhn, the superintendent of Clark Shawnee Schools, addressed the commission.
Wow. So this is a perfect example
Yep.
of how all these local government decisions are
Yeah.
really interconnected.
Breaking
Housing
logic.
development school funding.
It's all connected.
They're all pieces of the same puzzle.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
Mr. Kuhn brought up the influx of new students
Okay.
from recent housing developments,
Yeah.
specifically mentioning Melody Parks
Okay.
and how it's putting a strain on the school district's budget.
So he's essentially saying we need more resources
Yes.
to keep up with this growth.
To accommodate all these new students.
Exactly.
And it sounds like Mr. Kuhn feels like the school district was kind of left out of the loop
Yeah.
when these developments were being planned
Interesting.
and incentivized.
That's a valid point.
Right.
Planning for growth should involve everyone,
Right.
including schools, to make sure that everyone benefits.
Yeah. Mr. Rue responded by saying that, they can't afford to stifle growth,
Right.
but acknowledged that the state funding formula for schools needs to be addressed.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Right.
It's this balancing act
Yes.
of promoting economic development while ensuring adequate public services.
Right.
It often requires these creative solutions
Mhm.
and collaboration between, different levels of government.
Right. City and state working together.
Exactly.
Then a Mr. Armstrong weighed in, expressing concern about the development incentive.
Okay.
He felt that developers should be able to handle the startup costs themselves.
Okay.
He also brought up the issue of LLCs,
Right.
buying up houses, and the need for more funding to support this growing population.
These are all valid concerns. I mean,
Yeah.
this influx of investment properties
Right.
really can impact affordability
Yeah.
and neighborhood stability.
Mhm.
It's a complex issue that cities all across the country are grappling with.
And then the conversation took an unexpected turn.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah. Mr. Rue brought up the influx of Haitian immigrants to Springfield.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like the city wasn't quite prepared for it.
That's a significant challenge that a lot of cities are facing.
Yeah.
That's unplanned population growth,
Right.
especially on that scale.
Yeah.
It puts a strain on resources, housing,
Everything.
everything, yeah.
Mr. Rue estimated that there are now between 12 and 15,000 Haitian immigrants in Springfield,
Wow.
and he stressed that the city wasn't actively involved in bringing them here.
Okay, so that's an important distinction to make.
Yeah.
It suggests that, the city is now tasked with managing a situation.
Right.
That wasn't necessarily their own making.
Right.
So,
Yeah, he also mentioned a special internal group set up to address the situation.
okay.
It's called the Immigration Accountability Response Team.
Okay.
And they're looking at issues like housing and potential trafficking.
Yeah, it's really crucial, for the city to ensure the safety and well-being of all its residents,
Right.
especially those who might be particularly vulnerable.
It's interesting, isn't it? This public comment period really gave a voice to so many different angles of city life.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just about the immigrants themselves, but
Right.
also
Yeah.
the impact on resources and the community as a whole.
Yeah, it shows how interconnected everything is
Yes.
in a community.
And then we had Ms. Lemkol, who brought up something that at first might sound a little dry.
Okay.
She was concerned about crime statistics.
But crime statistics are anything BUT dry.
Right.
I mean, they're essential for understanding what's happening in a community.
Yes.
And holding law enforcement accountable.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So she'd been on the FBI's website and noticed that Springfield's data wasn't available.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's definitely something to look into.
Yeah.
Transparency in crime reporting is absolutely crucial for building trust
Yeah.
between law enforcement and the community.
And she pointed out that Springfield was one of many precincts that hadn't reported their data.
Okay.
Mr. Rue said he would look into it and have an answer by the next meeting.
It's good to see that kind of direct response to a citizen's concern. I mean, that's what accountability looks like
Right.
at the local level.
And finally, as the meeting wrapped up, Mr. Monahan voiced his concern about the Haitian immigrant population,
Okay.
mentioning a figure of 15,000,
Oh, wow.
even higher than Mr. Rue's estimate.
So it sounds like he's concerned about the strain
Yeah.
that this influx of new residents might put on city resources.
Mm-hmm. Did he offer any solutions
Oh,
or
yeah.
suggestions?
Right.
He specifically asked about a task force
Okay.
related to immigrants
Okay.
and questioned if Springfield's welcoming city resolution played a role in this situation.
Okay. So this is where things get really interesting.
Right.
Welcoming city resolutions have really become a point of contention
Yeah.
across the country.
Right.
It's a tough issue.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between compassion
Yeah.
and managing resources.
Mr. Root clarified that the welcoming city resolution is about being welcoming to those already living in Springfield,
Okay.
not about attracting new residents.
Right.
Especially when the city might not have the resources to support them.
Yeah, it's a really nuanced distinction that often gets lost, I think,
For sure.
in the larger immigration debate.
It seems like this whole situation caught a lot of people off guard,
Yeah,
but it also sparked some important conversations.
absolutely.
And isn't that what local government is all about?
Yeah, I think so.
Grappling with these complex issues
Yeah.
and trying to find solutions that work for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good reminder that these issues,
Yeah.
housing, immigration, resource allocation, I mean, these aren't just headlines.
Right.
They're playing out in communities like Springfield every single day.
So what does all of this mean for you, our listener?
Yeah.
Well, you've just had a front row seat to the inner workings of your local government.
That's right.
You've heard from city officials, passionate residents, and everyone in between.
That's what it's all about.
It's a powerful reminder that change happens at the local level.
It does.
Your voice, your vote, your involvement,
Absolutely.
it matters.
It really does.
So the next time you see a news story about your city or town,
Yeah.
don't just scroll past it.
Don't just ignore it.
Yeah, take a moment to think about the issues at stake and how you can be a part of the conversation.
Because ultimately, we're all stakeholders
Yes.
in our communities.
That's it for today's deep dive into the surprisingly captivating world of local government.
All right.
Until next time, stay curious.